So who's got a question?
Yep.
Andrew, go ahead.
Okay. Well, you're going to be asked about tomorrow, and normally I don't ask about this when you guys are going to play Clemson at home, but with circumstances being what they are, is there any communication with the team about that, or you just let them handle the streak thing and everything else?
Jesus, that answer.
I thought I had something growing out of my head for a second.
Did you know we have it? I don't know.
No, I've said the same thing for 17 years. I've said the same thing exactly, that it's a streak that people talk about. You have nothing to do with it. It's going to end at some time. Let's try to put it off another year. I've said that for 17 straight years and never varied from it, and I'll let it go. I really do, because I think it's unusual, but that's it. I really did. I'm thinking, where are we going here?
I started thinking there was something on my head or something.
No, I wasn't following where you were going to, not that
Yeah.
my brain. So
I don't think I've ever asked you about that
Yeah,
before. So.
no, that's exactly what I said it yesterday at practice, and I won't say a thing about it today. And I don't know if I've always said it 2 days before or the day before, but I've always said it exactly like that.
I know you remember games really well. Do you happen to recall the 2008 game? Denny Green had about 28, Tyler Hansbrough had 39 in Chapel Hill versus Clemson. They had Trevor Booker, Cliff Hammonds, and went it over overtime.
Is that the game we were down like 13 or something?
We were down, Ty didn't play, Q played.
Yeah. We were down about 13 or something. Tyler
Yeah.
Hansbrough dove at the middle of this 10-second line, knocked the ball loose when we got it. Yeah, I remember some things about it. I think we played 3 games that year against Clemson.
Okay, that's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And I think they could have won all 3 games. And fortunately, we won all. Fortunately for us, we won all 3. But I think that was really a good Clemson team, and we were really good. I mean, there's some trains thought in my mind that may have been as good a team as we've ever had. And but yeah, I remember that game. I remember that one specific play. It was a loose ball, and Tyler Hansbrough just laid out and got it, and we ended up scoring on the other end, and we were down, I think I'm right, we were down like 13 or 14 with less than 6 or 7 minutes to go in the game.
11 with 3,
Yeah.
12. So do you, and it seems like maybe not, but do you remember what it took to, get that run and to come back in that particular game so quickly?
Yeah, the same thing always. You got to get great shots on the offensive end, and got to buckle down a little bit and play better defense than you had been playing, but I don't remember it that closely. But that team, we had a couple of 3 good comebacks with that team. And again, that was a big one against Clemson. But was that the year we beat them on the last second shot at Clemson? Was that the year before?
Overtime down there, Wayne
Yeah.
hit the 3 at the buzzer.
Yeah, so we've had some great games with them over the years. But that one specifically, I remember that play, a few things, but not much.
How was practice yesterday? How did the guys sort of respond from Wednesday?
We just shot and did a few sort of dummy offensive things, but it's I got to wait until I walk out on the court to see who's going to practice, and so it's a little bit of that. I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but even the day before the big game, we didn't even know if Jeremiah was going to play. I didn't know if Jeremiah was going to be able to play until that morning, and I walked out on the court during warm-ups to see if it was still okay, because it's one of those years. There are a lot of them coming, but the night before I didn't know if Jeremiah was going to be able to play against Pitt, and so I wait now. I've got to the point that I wait till I get out there and I look around, and Doug gives me the injury report every day, and I mean, we even came back from Christmas at 5 days. And we have, counting our walk-ons, counting everybody, we have 18 guys. I had 10 guys on the injured list, the day after 5 days off. So we wait till we see who we have out there.
How do you think the morale is good right now? Kind of a tough stretch, and some guys
Yeah,
have never lost like this.
I think they were hurting a great deal after the Georgia Tech game, and even more so after the Pitt game. I think it was more of a, my gosh, we didn't play, embarrassed, this is not right after the Georgia Tech game. And in the Pitt game, I think they felt like they had done some good things in the first half and let one slip away, and frustrated, mad, hurt, all those kind of things. But I think we had a good attitude yesterday at practice, and I expect us to have a good attitude today.
Roy, you made a comment about
after the least gifted comment, you kind of said you have to bring your A game when you're in that situation every time out if you're gonna have a chance. Did that message sink into them, do you think, at this point?
I have no idea, you know, and I tell those guys, I say, hey, guys, you got an opportunity to listen to 1,000 comments. I mean, you know, somebody can say, remember one thing I mentioned to you guys, if I say B comes after A, that's the truth, so it shouldn't, hell, there'll be somebody's gonna say something about that, so I don't get too, I don't talk to my team too much about what other people say, and whether they, I don't think they listen to, I don't know if they listen to me during timeouts, much of that's what I say or somebody says that I said. But that whole thing to me was weird. I mean, it really was. It was the most unusually weird thing I think that goes back to people getting upset because I wore a sticker. When time before I'd waved Carolina Blue Pom-Pom when I was coaching Kansas, it wasn't a big deal. So this was not at that level. I'm not saying that, but that was just weird, so.
Well, I guess about the A games, that message to them that you're trying to really drive home that it's.
I did, again, I don't know if they even heard that, you know.
I meant a way when you talk to the team, I guess, not the radio comments per se, yeah.
Okay, no, because I tell them all the time, guys, we gotta play well. We gotta play well. And Steve brought this up, I had too, we've had some teams that won games that we didn't play very well. Well, we haven't done that so far this year. And so I tell them, you gotta play well. And that's the message. I don't say A game, B, C, or anything like that. We got to play well, and don't use excuses. I mean, I played in a golf tournament this summer, and I wanted to play great. And too much information for you. We lost 4-5, 4-5, won 5-4, lost 4-5, lost 4-5. So we're one shot away from in every match, but we lost 4 out of the 5. Well, you know why? We didn't play well. It's pretty damn easy to figure out. So that's what usually happens in basketball, that if you're this team, if you play well, you've got a much better chance of winning. You know, I had Ty and Wayne, Danny and Sean and Kendall and Harrison and John, those guys, we were very gifted, which I've used that word forever, but we were very gifted, and sometimes we won games when we didn't play well. I remember going in the locker room one night, and I am so mad, and Joe Holiday's right behind. Now remember, we won, and it's a conference game. So it's your level of belief in your team and their level of capability. And, you know, if you've got 4 or 5 guys who are going to be #1 draft choices sometime, you can not play well and still win. And I've told this team, we need to play well. I didn't say we don't have this or we don't have that. I've tried to stress to them, let's play well on game day. Let's play well on game day.
Coach,
I don't know, does that answer it any better?
Yes, yeah,
So
I didn't ask it clearly, I'm sorry.
I don't
No,
ever
you
use A game, no, I have to, A game, B game. I used to have an A game in golf, now I got a D game.
Coach, of all your seasons at or all your time in Carolina, you've had a lot of successful seasons. This year, kind of with all the injuries, and as you mentioned, the talent on the roster presents a different challenge. Is there
Guys,
anything-
come on now, I don't say talent, I just say gifted.
Well, in terms of like
That's it.
McDonald's All-Americans and whatnot,
Okay, go ahead.
as a coach, have you learned anything about yourself and about coaching that maybe the
Learn some things I don't want to learn. I mean, I had a coach tell me, this will make you a better coach. I am 69 years old, I've coached 32 years. You think I give a blankety blank about, I want to win. I want to become a better coach by coaching every team and getting them closest to their potential as I possibly can. And the guy that told me that's a guy I have a tremendous amount of respect for, but it is. And you know, what you say when you do that is it makes you look into things. And guys, I do that my whole life. Every game, we beat somebody by 30. And I'm talking about our national championship teams, this year's team, and beat anybody by 30 this year's team. We beat anybody by 30. I go home, I study that stat sheet like I'm an idiot. I will grade that tape like I'm a freaking idiot. There's only so, you know the difference in Roy Williams now, the biggest difference, and one winning, what did we win, 15 out of 16 down the stretch last year? I've never been one to sleep. I'm not sleeping at all now. That's the only difference. I'm serious. I can tell you right now, when after that game, I can tell you everybody's stat line across through there, what the other two did. I grade every tape. stay up every night, and the only thing is, when you're winning, it's easier to finally go to sleep. But a normal night for me is 4.5 to 5 hours, and now it's nowhere close to that.
You just like turning in bed or just staying up looking at stats?
Getting some details now.
This press conference
I'm
is
listening
really
now.
close.
You this door, here we go.
This press conference is gone
From
from
a melatonin.
Is this rated?
Sleeping pills don't work.
Oh, yeah, and I take 2 sleeping pills a night. So, but guys, that's the way I've been. It's just a lot worse. Okay, but no, usually, well, after a loss, I don't sleep at all. I mean, go to bed and it doesn't work, so I get up and read the stat sheet for 100th time, read, look at the scouting report again to see if I left something out, plan to practice for the next day and the next day and the next day. I mean, I'm a little weird. It's just the bottom line, but sometimes I might be able to go to sleep quickly and then I wake up and then I'm done, so I might as well just get up. I've been known to go out in the middle of the night, go for a walk, midnight, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, doesn't make any difference. I've been known to do that. I've been known to get up and get the iPad out. And I can't do anything on the iPad except one thing. I can plug in and get the craps game, so I shoot craps. And I say, come on. That's about all. Like I say, this press conference has gone south quickly. So, but no, Coach Smith told me the night before I left, said my biggest worry about you, and I've told some of you guys, been around here long enough to hear this, is that he said my biggest worry about you is how hard you take the losses as an assistant, and it's a lot worse as a head coach, and he's right again. It's a lot worse.
Or your
Roy,
assistant? Go ahead.
Given just kind of the climate now and coaches' salaries and that kind of thing, do you think in today's day and age there would be an opportunity to be another Roy Williams, meaning an assistant take a high, a blue blood job as a head coach?
Well, Matt Doherty went as an assistant from me to the head coaching job at Notre Dame. Wojo, an assistant from Duke, to the head job at Marquette. Chris, to Northwestern. Jared, who jumped, but there was one in between at Birmingham to Stanford. I don't know. At that time when I did it, when Kansas offered me the job, Wade Houston at Tennessee was the only other one that people talked about at that time. But it changes too. The difference is now, I believe this from the bottom of my soul, in the late 70s, early 80s, no athletic director made a decision on who he was going to hire without talking to Coach Smith or Coach Knight. 75% of the time. And the other 25% probably, but I believe 75% of coaches, many athletic directors would call Coach Smith or Coach Knight. Now there's a lot of athletic directors I call and leave a message 10 times, they won't even call me back trying to recommend somebody. So it's a different world out there. The athletic directors come more from the business side of things as opposed to the Frank Broyles and guys like that, Coach Dooley at Georgia, who were former coaches that became ADs. And I think, and let's be honest, I wouldn't have gotten the job in Kansas. I mean, come on, I wouldn't have been the guy there if it hadn't been for Coach Smith and Dick Hart being a Kansas graduate. I'm not being humble saying that, I'm just telling the truth.
After the game, 2 nights ago, you said you implemented a new offense, and some of the players talked about practically that was a little more ball screen action, a little more movement in the half court. Could you try and detail specifically like what changed offensively Pitt versus what you guys were doing maybe when Cole
Well, it
was up
didn't
there?
work here in Pitt. So
Or
we
during the first half?
got 0 points off of it against Pitt. So we're still trying. But just because it's America doesn't mean I have to tell you every daggone thing we're doing either. And if I did, you wouldn't understand what the hell I was saying either. But to answer the questions, no. I'm not going to give you any more information. If it starts working, then you can ask me about a specific instance, and I'll tell you. But it's more than you would understand. And I know it's a lot more than you can freaking write down on it or put down on your computer.
Is Roy, is there
And I'm not being, I'm just,
No.
it's come to one of my coaches' clinics. And I don't charge you. Okay?
is there, I know you have a long list of things you're focused on. Is there one or two things in particular you say, this is something I think we can accomplish, like, we gotta start somewhere, let's start here?
It's a good way to ask it too, because there's things that I give our guys, okay, these are things that could be changed easily, so let's change those. These are other things that, we've tried for 15 games, and our shooting percentage is still not very good. But we're still working on those. We're trying to get better shots. We're working on shooting every day, like I said. I'm not your question, but one open thing is, yesterday we shot. We shot a lot, okay, so we're still working on that, even though that's not easy to change. We're working on getting better shots, which is a little bit of the offense thing. So we're doing that, but those things are hard to change. But something like, come on guys, we work on closeouts every day. Why don't you close out better as opposed to 15 bad closeouts against Georgia Tech? Okay, and we work every day on seeing man and seeing ball. You got to have concentration during the game. So in the Georgia Tech game 4 times, we let the guy get the back of a hair, and it was a veteran. So some things can change, and that's what we talk about even yesterday. Can this be changed? And if so, is it easy to change? If that's the case, then let's do it. And we put certain things in this category and certain things in the other category that are harder to change. It's harder to change our health. We can't do a lot about that. It is easier to change to remember when I call 42 defense and we leave the bench and we go out and we forget it out there, that's easier to change. And so those are the kind of things too.
Is that a deviation from like past years? And it sounds like you're talking about some really fundamental focus things like closeouts and so forth.
Yeah.
Is that different from previous years in that regard, the focus on that?
Well, I am comfortable with my coaching. I really am. That's a better way to say it, I guess. I've had teams that led the nation in scoring. I've had teams that lead the nation in rebound margin. I've had teams lead the nation in assist. I've had teams, believe it or not, that led the nation in defensive field goal percentage. And so that's a pretty good broad range. With different teams, those teams are going to have different strengths. One of our former players, so we used to write the names up on the board and say, jump shooter, driver, can't shoot, offensive rebounder, and that was it. Now we give them a scouting report and we show them tape. And so the whole coaching thing is involved, but the better teams can handle things differently. When I had Jock Vaughn and Jared Hass, I'd say, who are the best scorers on the other team? And they'd say the guards. And I said, let's go to something else. I really would. We didn't even talk about it because they were the 2 best defensive guards I've ever coached. And they would want to take care of those 2 guys. So let's go to something that was going to make a difference in the game. So the level of your talent does make you change how much more you give them. And the same thing, Jock and Jared ruined me too because they were so good, but also because we played a team one time that used to hold up a card and what play they were going to run. And Jock and Jared wanted to know what that was. And it was really a good team, and they took them out of everything. Everything. And so we started paying more attention to scouting reports. And a couple years later, we played the same kind of situation, and they hold it up and beat 23, and they ran, beat 23 and scored. So the personnel that you have, the talent you have, makes you do more things or less things. And I've had guys that say, Coach, is he a driver or a shooter? They didn't care if it's left or right or whatever. So a little bit of that. But this team, you're always, as a coach, you're always searching to see if there's anything else that you can give them. And I think the only difference in the question about difference in making me a better coach is during those time periods, you've got to decide how much you're going to give your guys. What do they need, for example, and what do they want, and how effective it's going to be for them. I'll add one thing to the question about not necessarily making me a better coach. I used that from somebody else. When you're winning and when you're really good, you're also silly if you don't keep looking. And some of our great teams, the night before the Michigan State game for the national championship, we had beaten them easily before. I was worried to death, okay, because there were still things I wanted to make sure that you don't want to leave any stone unturned. And I think that's one thing with the question again about this year being different is that when you pick whichever team you want, I tried to make sure I didn't leave any stone unturned. Because I wanted to make sure that after the game I could feel, okay, you did what you needed to do. Now I worry more about did I leave or was there anything that I don't even recognize that realized that I may have missed. But I really, every one of my players will tell you I've mellowed. That's just because they say I ran harder than I did these guys now. And there's some truth to that. I used to try to coach out of fear. They better be afraid I was going to kill them the next day of practice. And I wasn't real comfortable with that. And as I matured, I just wanted to try to convince them to care as much as I cared. And to convince them how important it was and convince them it was important. And try to challenge them to get their level of care closer to mine. And so that wasn't killing anybody or anything, but that's changed over the years. One more?
Yeah.
I was
Get ready to say-
time for one more.
Two
Two quick ones.
All right, yeah.
Ross and Andrew.
Is there an update on Cole Anthony, anything you can tell us?
No. Well, here's an update. He shot, I saw him shot the shoot ball yesterday. That's it. I saw him shoot the ball yesterday, and then I said, all right, let's show me if you can make one. He shot 4 in a row, missed all 4 of them, so I said, okay, you're not ready. But he was standing still and wasn't jump shooting or anything.
When a team is struggling, do you notice a difference, maybe with confidence or kind of a here we go again mentality where maybe it dulls their instincts some? You were talking about defense and some of the way they reacted. Is that affected by maybe a mindset?
Yeah, and your point there, it's critical, is that do you become more motivated, madder, hungrier, or do you lose more confidence? And it's a thin line there, because what you do, you know, the old story, you can't, I gotta make sure I use the right words. Thoroughbred you can push, the horse that's not a thoroughbred, you can't beat on it. And it's a little bit with the team, more gifted, more, again, that word again, the more gifted you are, the more successful you are, you can push that team more, I think, than you can a team that's hurting. And this team, any team that's hurting and has had some significant losses that bothered them, got some people really hurt, I think you coach them differently than you do Tyler Hansbrough. You still have to be honest. You know, you're not playing very well. We got to change. You got to stop shooting the ball. Well, I'm going to say that to the great teams, but I still have to say that to the other teams as well, because you can't just say, "Oh, you're great." You know, I mean, we're not great, kind of thing. But something even like changing the offense, it's just you're searching to try to find something that will help them in certain situations. And so that's what it is. Did you have one?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna ask you, you mentioned how each team has a different relative strength, you know, sometimes it's offensive rebounding or defense, whatever. Do you know what that is for this group yet? Or when do you expect that, you know, is there a timetable for when you hope to sort of know that?
Yeah, you'd like to know it early so you can plan things around and try to make what your strengths are the most important factor in the game, and try to make what your weaknesses are something that's not the most important thing in the game. And I think that's something that over the years I've enjoyed more about coaching, that, all right, we're really good at this, so let's make that as important as we can. And, you know, we struggle over here, so let's cover that up a little bit. This team, we've been a good rebounding team, but not a great rebound. I mean, numbers are good, but, you know, it's, I don't go by the numbers. I mean, you know, 2 statistics, well, there's a lot of statistics that don't mean anything. Are we leading the nation in number of rebounds?
Yes.
Why should I be happy about that? That means we're missing more shots. You know, and we play at a faster pace. That's the reason I go by rebound margin so much more there. Assist, you know, a lot of times we've probably led the ACC in assist a huge majority of the time, and there's 15 teams, but I bet we've been way up there a lot because we play at a faster pace. But the rebounding with this team has been something that has been good but not great, and every other area we still got to get a heck of a lot better. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Roy. Thank you, Roy.
Let's leave that.